Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, mujer? Estamos hoy celebrando todavía el mes de febrero. We're still celebrating February 2025. We're very excited that you guys are watching us, listening to us, sharing our information. We're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's myself, Viviana, and then we also have Nikte. I live in Virginia in the United States, and Nikte lives in Hawaii for the moment, and Maddie lives in Chesapeake, Virginia as well. So we're here, this show, ¿Qué pasa, mujer? We kind of came together because we wanted to talk about different topics. So it's not just about Latina women. We just talk about life topics, life positive topics. So we'll talk about finances, being a woman, being a Latina woman, about our professions, about our careers, about how to make our best better, I would say. Sometimes we have topics about that. We've talked about health issues, educational issues. So it's just an array of topics that we have here. We've been in the air for 2 years or a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. And so we want to continue to share our personal knowledge, hear from our audience as to some topics that we need to talk about. Some of them are hot topics, some of them are not, just life regular topics. A couple of weeks ago, we had someone come talk to us about DEI, which is a hot topic right now. And then sometimes we've talked about just parenting. So, any of those topics. But we're going to go ahead and bring Nikte and Maddie on. So we can kind of get started. Hola, Nikte, ¿cómo estás?
Hello,
Hola,
buenos días, tardes. Sorry, I forgot about my mic.
Oh, you're fine. Buenas tardes. Maddie, how are you?
Doing good. I'm here.
Good. I love it that you're here.
I love your necklace, Maddie.
Yeah, it looks so nice. Very nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's not wearing earrings, but you are. We're like, where are yours, Nikte?
Oh, mine are here.
I know, but it's supposed to be like these.
It's hoops.
You didn't get the menu? The menu?
I didn't. Here.
Memo?
The memo.
The memo. Menu. I'm hungry. Nikte, tell us something positive about your week that just passed. Something good.
Very good. I am super busy. I'm so thankful for that. I've got a lot of really great projects, which will make me travel quite a bit in March, which is nice. I'm very excited about. But I think it was because I did a big mindset shift in the beginning of the year. I think a lot of small businesses were impacted last year with the economy, and things are going to continue to just be really tough. So I just took this, I don't know, something just like switched in my mind, and it was about more like being in spaces and asking like, hey, I have this great idea, not, letting little things go. And so I've been pitching ideas. They've been well received, and that kind of brought in opportunities that I know before I would be like, oh, well, I don't know if they're going to say. I'm like, why? ¿Qué importa? If they say no, it may not be the right time. They say no, I can still do it myself. That's the beauty of technology. So so it's been great. I've just been really busy. So now I'm very I've, put my agenda of what they need to do. And so I'm very compartmentalized in the things that I need to do, because these projects that I'm doing have a personal connection, but it can turn out to be something bigger. So I'm I really want to go all out. So that's been
Nikte is really contributing to our $3.5 billion. 3.5 billion. I love it. So tell us a little bit about your project. One of your projects that I know about, just because you've been posting it on social media and Adobe, and tell me exactly what it is, because I've seen it, but I don't think that I truly understand the big picture.
Yeah. So the one that I currently have in progress, it's with Adobe Express, and it's a project that I wanted to do for many years. And it was one of those things I never just had that, like, let me just go out and pursue it and ask. Those were one of the big asks that I just, and it was a big yes from them. And it was to empower small business owners. I already knew from the impact that I felt and other small businesses that I knew from last year with, the business, the economy. And I know that with so much changes going on, that small businesses are going to be impacted even more. So I wanted to create a resource that would empower small businesses and allow me to help them in a way that I know I can't help everyone one on one. They may not have the funds to do it, but I still want to help other people instead of leaving them misguided or, making these mistakes. So I created these series of videos. They kind of build on one another. So if you're a new business owner and you're wanting to design your own brand identity because you're not quite ready to hire someone, you're still bootstrapping, you're funding yourself, that is that series that, in partnership with Adobe Express, I'm showing how you can take a design and build onto that to create like this whole brand identity system, from like business cards, a letterhead, like the basics, to all the way your social media graphics. So I teach people how to do that, and I create templates that people can use and learn at the same time. So it's just been really exciting, and I'm about halfway into the series of releasing the content. So yeah, that's been a big blessing.
I love it because a lot of the times, sometimes as small business owners, the beginning stages, and also once you start kind of like making real money, it's still a little bit hard on the financial aspect to kind of jump to that next level. Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of it is, and we've had this conversation before, like I have this gift and I can do marketing, for example, but I don't know the business behind doing marketing. Like I can create logos, but the actual like administration, human resources, like sometimes, like I'm a small business owner, and sometimes with my assistant I'll say, oh my god, if we had an HR department I would be fired, right? Because we just joke around sometimes. But yeah, is those things, and like I know for me, like especially the financial piece, Maddie, like I have
Mhm.
never attempted or even the thought of doing my own taxes ever, because I don't want to go to jail. I refuse. And I'm like, it's a fear factor, but I was like, you know what? Like that is one place where I'm gonna put money into. Right?
Mhm.
I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, because like I cannot like that cannot be a liability, that
Mhm.
by myself. So things like that, and sometimes you don't know and you learn by making mistakes, but in today's world there's some mistakes that you don't have to make because so many people have made them and you don't have to. And I just think that the project that you're doing, Nikte, is great, because it makes it's so valuable, but you're kind of making it affordable, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
just think it's good because that's your way of kind of giving back, which I think
Mhm.
is amazing. I'm a
Mhm.
big believer in not hoarding things and just
Mhm.
really letting people know our knowledge, so that other people can grow. Because if you grow, then I grow. And, we contribute to
Mhm.
the $3.5 trillion that we do in the Latino community. So I think that's amazing that you're doing that. Yesterday I was talking to Olga, right? Well, it was Friday. I don't know, one of these days. So I was talking to Olga. She was on our show before, and we were talking about something that was irrelevant to what I mentioned, but I was like, man, such and such should come up with an app for this and that. She was like, you just thought about that? I was like, yeah. She said, well, write it down. I was like, okay.
Mhm.
Because I think sometimes we come up with ideas, but then we don't do anything with it because life takes over.
Mhm.
So that happens all the time.
Or because we don't think it's valuable. Sometimes we
Yeah.
think of things and we're like, oh, yeah, nobody's going to like that idea, but you don't know unless you throw it out there. Like Nita said, the worst thing that can happen is that somebody says no, and then, you wait for the right time and it happens. So,
Mhm.
congratulations, Nita.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. How about you, Maddie? Tell us something good from last week.
My week has been horrible. It has been a
I
really,
said something
really,
good.
really, really bad week. I have nothing good to say, but um, I would say first thing is please pray for me and my family. That's one thing. Um, it's been a really, really, really hard week. And what I have, if this week has taught me anything, is that whenever we think that we can't no more, sometimes
Mhm.
we push ourselves and we surprise ourselves how strong we are and how strong we can be. So proud of myself for that. So
Good, good. Yeah, we'll definitely be praying for you.
Mhm.
And I always think about hard times, but if we, and I know it's hard when you're going through the hard times, but if we could just kind of focus on the end result. Like there's times, and I think I've shared this on the show before, sometimes I get bad thoughts about like car accidents and stuff like that with people that I love. And when I get those thoughts, I'm like, I start thinking about that same person, but them being really old. Because it kind of gets
Mhm.
my mind off of it. And probably like a month ago, I was going through some rough stuff. And what I did is I played like an audio book all night because I knew that I was going to wake up in the middle of the night thinking about this.
Mhm.
And it, sure enough, it happened. So I just kind of, when I woke up thinking about that, I wasn't there in a long time because I was then concentrated on the audiobook.
Mhm.
Or whether it's a YouTube video, like those meditational YouTube videos that go for like 24 hours or whatever. Sometimes I'll play those just in case I wake up thinking about that bad thought, because bad thoughts are bad. And sickness, just any type of illness, or anytime our families get attacked by anything, it's bad. But yeah. But I was talking to my 14-year-old son, and he was talking to somebody in his class. So this year he's going to a Christian school, so he has to go to Bible class. So, hola Lily, ¿cómo estás? Dice hola chicas. um and there was a girl that was sharing a very intimate story about some struggle that she had when she was younger. Mind you, these are eighth graders, right? So she was
Mhm.
some trauma that she kind of went through. And so she told her story, and then she said, I was kind of mad at God because he was putting me through this. Like I felt like he was putting me through this. But she said the parents started taking her to this Christian school, and she was going through depression. And then she had to learn, she says she learned that God sometimes gives you trials and tribulations in your lifetime. And
Mhm.
you, like, he's still there, but he just kind of puts you through these trials and tribulations. And my son was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe, that she was going through that. But he said immediately afterwards, after class, like I started to journal about his own situations,
Mhm.
right? So it made me think that I instilled journaling for him, right? And I don't do it myself. I do it sometimes, but not all the time. But I'm glad that he was able to tap into a resource for himself, And so I just think it's good to kind of do those things. And I guess my point is we're all going to go through stuff, right, Maddie and Nikte? And but if we look back, we kind of overcome. And even though some things are still painful, like, like your brother passing away, and your mom, and all those things that hurt, but we overcome, and I think we turn them into positives, like they're your angels looking over you, or whatever, whatever direction you choose to go into. So, but yeah, we'll definitely be praying for you.
Yes, Maddie. Thank you. And thank you for showing up. I think the hardest thing to do
Yes,
when you're going through so much is to show up and look fabulous, by the way. I think that is, it's the little things sometimes we forget to give ourselves that grace. And it's so easy to want to just curl up in a bed or just go scream and hit a wall just from what's happening. But you're here and you're showing up. So thank you for doing that.
definitely. And I think sometimes this space is like therapy for us as well. So even in sharing our personal business at times is just kind of therapy, and it just allows you to disconnect from those things that are happening. So I think it's that as well. But
Mhm.
yes, definitely, thank you for just being here.
Mhm.
Thank you, Maddie.
I agree.
So for me, something great that happened this week. Um, let me see, because just been busy, Nick, there as well. Just with, and it's not projects that I'm pursuing, is projects that are coming to me, that are falling
Mm.
on my lap. And it makes me think, like, why am I waiting for them to call me? I need to call them. So it kind of gave me that energy that I need to because my birthday is coming up. Don't forget, March 12th is my birthday. So it's like another year. I'm going to be 40 again, right? Nick Day and I are the same age. So it's like another year closer to 50. And it's another year closer to my retirement plan. And so I need to make moves. So I think it was a reminder for me of like, Viviana, estás muy lenta, right? Like,
Mhm.
let's go, let's make moves. Uh, so that has happened, just like 2 or 3 projects that kind of came to me unexpectedly, and I've been able to use a lot of artificial intelligence. So just finding new resources has been great, because I would dread writing contracts or presentations and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But just with artificial intelligence, it just has made it so much more easier to navigate and to provide like a good looking presentation.
Mhm.
So that has been helpful. So that's my good news for the week. And I just want to say hello to mi hermano Iván Urueña from Colombia, que dice saludos de Colombia. Olga Torres, she's also sending prayers for you, Maddie. And she said, hola, chicas. Lili Matos. And I'm sure there's other people. Sometimes people watch us, but we don't get to see your name unless you put a comment. So even if you just do a wave, we like that as well. So today, I wanted to interview Nikte and ask her some personal questions, but she says she's not up to it. So I have to
Today, Day is
volunteer.
not here. My brain is not here.
It is here. Your chair is there.
Yeah, my chair is, but not me.
Yeah.
No, I
Um,
think I love the questions you ladies ask, and I think that that's great. But it's my brain is like all over the place, and I'm like, I need a, like when you have like los caballos, and they have those things that they're those blinders.
yeah.
I feel like, see, I feel like I'm good
That's
structure
how
if we take those.
teenage boys are.
Oh,
They wear them all the time. And sometimes they're 50 and they never took them off. Right, Maddie?
I don't think it's only boys. I think it's teenagers, period.
But I think boys do it. Ugh, they never
I got
took them off.
time. I got time to experience that.
You do. I was watching, Netflix has a lot of Hispanic based movies now or series.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching one on Vicente Fernandez, and they were talking about his life. And he's not someone like I've never really listened to his music or whatever, but I mean, I know of him and I've heard some of his music. But it's interesting for me to kind of watch people's life and how it evolves, and because I know we know them as how they are today, but we don't know a lot of their struggles when they were younger or their family struggle. So it just kind of made me think about if somebody were to do a Netflix series on my life, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Uh, it makes me want to like do more maybe for my children, like as they get
It's
older.
like, I don't want you to show that in my movie.
I need to do a better job before they come out with the movie so they can include it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I think I do a really good job with my sons in reference to having like transparent conversations about life and stuff like that. Um, but one of the reasons why I got involved in the community, and it was like 5 years ago, when I joined like the Chamber of Commerce here in my area. um it was because I thought about like, what do I want my obituary to say, right?
Mm.
Like, what are some things that I want people to think about Viviana? Like, what did she do? Was she just a mom and a wife? Like, boring, even though it's a great job to have, and it's very accomplishing. But for me, I wanted more. I wanted to impact people. It doesn't matter what age. So that's why I wanted to, that's when I started. And because my kids were a little bit older too, they were, I think Joel must have been 7 or 8. So I just felt like like he understood or whatever. So I started to get more involved in the community, and then do more for the Latino community specifically. But that's when I started to go to a lot of networking events, and sometimes I was exhausted, right? And so in the last 5 years, I've loved doing the networking. I've gotten tired from doing the networking, and then I just kind of sit back, and then I kind of go back to it. But sitting back now, 5 years later, I've enjoyed the getting tired and not being tired
Mhm.
of it. Like, I love the process, because it's almost like you need to walk away from the networking and meet so many people. And then you come back around whenever you're ready for it again. And then you get to meet new people and
Mhm.
make new connections. And because organizations, companies are constantly changing, their staff is changing. So that's something that I've really enjoyed, in my process in the last 5 years, since I became a little bit more active in the community. And looking back, like in March, I'm going to be doing this like little workshop or presentation for the agency that my mom works for, and it's going to be in Spanish. So usually when I do some speaking engagements, like I do it in English, but this time it's going to be in Spanish, and I'm like, I need to practice.
You got this.
But
Totally got this.
I love that I can impact people of all ages. Like, I love that.
Mhm. And you can tell when you have that, just, and I know we've mentioned in the show before, when you talk about things that you're so passionate about, se te ilumina la cara. You're like, you have a big smile when you're talking. You're never like,
Hmm.
I love doing this. No, like you could tell that's
Yeah.
something that brings you energy. And as you were talking about the networking, and I know you've been doing this and you've been very committed to it, what would you suggest people who are, especially within our Latino community, who may feel shy about networking? Because I think that's a lot more common here with like the very business mindset. But how do you encourage people to go out and make that small conversation? I think a lot of people, especially small business owners, they're sold like you have to go ready with your elevator speech, and that's what you go have. Like, Maddie, what do you do? And then Maddie is like you feel that force to like say that elevator speech, and she asked that to me, and I'm like, oh, this is what I do, and you sound so robotic. So you being in this cycle of meeting so many people, what would you suggest for people who are wanting to get more connected to their community to not let that stop them?
Yeah, so I think it's important for us to say this in Spanish and English, right? This particular section of the show,
Mhm.
because we want to empower both. So, yo voy a muchas o iba de vez en cuando a reuniones, ¿cómo se dice? Networking, reuniones como sociales, pero de negocio, para conocer de otros negocios, y algunas veces era solo para saber qué clase de negocio ellos hacen, y a lo mejor es algo que podemos hacer algunos proyectos juntos también. Entonces era como reuniones de negocio más que nada. Y Nick te preguntó que cuál es mi opinión en referencia de gente que se siente que tiene pena, o a lo mejor no quiere ir a esas reuniones por cualquier barrera que vea. Yo pienso que es importante ir como yo soy. Like, yo soy Viviana, por ejemplo, yo soy una persona penosa, menos hoy en día, pero yo en realidad soy una persona que me da pena hablar algunas veces. Pero uno puede ir de solo para ver, solo para tener la experiencia. A lo mejor no tienes tarjetas de tu negocio, eso no importa. Tú vas ahí a aprender. So, si normalmente hacen esas reuniones, tienes que decir tu nombre y con qué compañía representas, y puedes decir algo de tu negocio. Entonces, uno puede decir, me llamo Viviana y estoy aquí para aprender, y ya. Se lo pasas a la próxima persona para que diga algo. So,
Mhm.
muchas veces es solo de ponerse unos pantalones negros, una camisa negra, y ir, y nada más. Y la gente aprecia eso.
Mhm.
Um, yo pienso que eso es lo mejor. Elevator speech, yeah, you can have one, but you when you're in the elevator, like, I don't know, you know? It's good to have because I think you need to know those things that are in the elevator speech, right? So es buena información saber qué clase de negocio tú quieres abrir y por qué y cuál es tu pasión y todo eso. Es bueno saber unas cosas básicas para tú poder tener esas conversaciones. Pero si eres una persona penosa o te da miedo o lo que sea, solamente vas a mirar just to be nosy, solo para mirar qué es lo que está pasando, es como que se hacen esas reuniones para que entonces cuando yo vaya a la próxima esté mejor preparada, sea lo que sea. So,
Mhm.
um, because I am naturally an introvert, I would say yes, educate yourself, as Maddie says all the time. Educate yourself. So you don't have to have a business already in place. You don't have to like, let's say if I want to open up a daycare, like I would go to a daycare and make believe that I am a potential client of theirs, but I'm there to see how they run their business. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to steal their business. I'm just going to learn from their business. So muchas veces, so we could do that, right? So I usually just come as me. I have created an elevator speech in the past, and I think it has good content. The elevator speech has good content, but I don't have to use it in that capacity. And oh my god, I got 30 seconds, you know, to talk to this person. I've gone to like speed networking events, and those are kind of cool too, because you're just kind of talking to the one person in front of you, and then you rotate because they have like speed dating, but I've gone to speed networking events too, and those are nice as well because you're still just with that one person and you have a minute to kind of make it happen. But it's okay if you don't have business cards. You could just say, hey, I'm Viviana and I'm just here to learn because eventually I want to have my own business. So you're just there to observe, and then the next time around that you go to another networking event, you might add a little bit something else. So
Mhm.
that's what I would recommend.
I love that. I,
Yep.
yeah, I think I love that perspective too. Or even if you don't feel like being there, the fact that you switch your mind to say, "Well, I'm here to learn," then
Mhm.
that puts you in a better position where you're not, because some people don't like to network or they feel anxious about networking. So I love your insight on just saying, "Hey, I'm here to learn." Like Maddie
Mhm.
always says, educate yourself and just switching that mindset where, okay, there's no pressure for me to go and say what I'm doing. I'm here to learn, and you kind of just sit back and relax a little bit more.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that could even open up a potential partnership with someone saying like, oh, how are you starting? Is there something that I could help you with? And then you never know how that could open up someone genuinely wanting to help you grow in that process of you learning.
Right. Yeah. And I just think sometimes people have anxiety. So maybe watching some YouTube videos on the do's and the don'ts can kind of help you. And maybe going, but maybe not showing up. I don't know. It just depends how your brain works. So either
Mhm.
showing up on time and you're only there for 10 minutes, or showing up kind of like in the middle of it or towards the end of it. So you're not obligated to stay the whole time, and then you just learn as you go. It's just whatever works for you because I can't say that it's a cookie cutter system. It's just whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah, I equate that to open mics. You go to an open mic and sometimes you go out there and you just watch. You just watch and you just watch until one day you're like ready to speak. And it is so funny because the other day we had an event, and we have this girl that she's been coming every Wednesday, I think for the past 2 years, I think. When we do our slams, she's been coming, and she's a regular, and she's one of the family, but she's never done a poem. And this last time that we got together, she was like, I think I'm ready to read something. And it has taken her, again, a year or two to be able to get to that point. But I think that's what it does for you. You kind of get up there, you hear stories, and you're like, okay, I have stories too. And this is what I want to share. So I think with networking, it's the same thing. I think it's about being confident about what you do. about what you bring to the table. And I think sometimes it takes us time to get to that confident place where you feel like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know what I'm doing, you know? So I always say that, you know, mi papá tiene un dicho en español, dice que el aguaje es la mitad del cuento. So aguaje for us is kind of like try to be something that you're not. So he's like, you know, part of it is what you know, and the second is thinking you are the ish, you know, and you get up there and you say stuff, you know, and sometimes it comes out with confidence. So that's kind of how it starts, and then you get going. So it is important to be part of the room and part of the conversation, and eventually you'll find yourself mixed in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, Viviana. So we've been asking about projects and stuff that that you guys have been developing, that you're being a part of, and I know you've been talking about your legacy, because I think we do think a lot about that, especially as we get older. I mean, you're getting younger, of course, because your birthday's backwards, but anyway, as as the birthdays keep coming, you kind of start thinking, you get to a point where you start thinking, okay, what am I leaving behind? Is there something that a project or something in particular that you would like to have an impact in your community? Maybe get something started or work on something that you can say, I had my hands in that and I helped create that. Is there a dream?
Yes. So my goal is to educate Hispanic families about how the school system works here. And just empower them, because even a lot of people from the United States don't know how the system works. So just like removing the barriers, removing the fears from families, and to have conversations and educate themselves. So I've done it in like small pockets, right? But I do want to do it large. So I see everything like puzzle pieces. So looking at my past, like I have connections with this school system, like, like I do this, that, whatever. And so I think eventually it's gonna come together, and my puzzle is gonna be finished, that I'll be able to do, like, I want to do like free workshops for parents, and for them to do like hands-on, like this is what I need to do on a weekly basis, or when I enroll my child in school. Because I think the mentality of a lot of people is they're in school, parents are involved, like the teachers, like that's your time. Like I drop them off, I pick them up, and then after I pick them up, then that's my time. And some people just don't know. So they don't know what role they need to play. And so it's funny because I'm writing a paper right now about like special education. And that was one of the questions, like, what do you think about parents' role when so when you're under special education, you here in the state of Virginia, you have to get an IEP or a 504. So do you go to the meeting and just sign the paper? No. I always tell parents all the time, you get that paper, you go to that meeting, and you do not sign anything that day. You take it home, you talk it over with your spouse, with a friend, with, find resources, but you can't just sign documents just because the school said so. So yes, that's where I want to impact, to just educate parents that have children in school. Yeah. And before we go on, I just want to say hello to Tangi, John Jairo, Nancy Sutachan. Oh, my mom said, ahora tú me impactas a mí. Oh. She said, tú eras muy tímida, pero ahora no tienes límites. Muy segura de ti. I guess I'm following her footsteps because she was the same way. Tangi said, Maddie, beautiful necklace. And Tangi, no, John Jairo, Tangi te manda saludos. También. So we'll be here having private conversations on the side. And Tangi is going to go to an open mic one day, and then she's going to go watch. And then eventually she's going to get on the mic, because I've known Tangi for over 20 years, and I'm still waiting for her to get in front of the mic, or for me to see her in front of a mic. So we need to start making some visits with Maddie. That's what we need to do. But yeah. That's one of the things that I want to do. Another thing that I wanted to do a long time ago was tracking kids. Like just getting a group of like 10, 15
Mhm.
kids that were like in fourth, fifth grade and just tracking them all the way to get them to college. Like
Ooh.
tracking them meaning academically and socially, make sure they get, don't go into the streets or make sure their grades are good. But
Mm.
it's a family affair and it's a community affair when you do that. So it
I
takes a lot of efforts.
like a kind of like a, I don't think it's the right word, but like an internship, like a community internship of
Like a
sorts.
mentorship.
Yes, or mentorship. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's like a life mentorship. And I
Yeah.
know sometimes like I see one of my son's uncle, he went to the Naval Academy and so he mentors and they're African American, so there's not a lot of African Americans in the Naval Academy. So
Mhm.
every single African American that has gone through the Naval Academy has seen my son's uncle because he
Mhm.
makes it his business to mentor them, to protect them, to
Mhm.
guide them in every way.
I love
So something like that would be amazing to do.
I love that. And you can imagine the impact of it and the community. They even like those kids that go through that as they're going through different stages in life that they can share. So like I can I that would be such a beautiful thing to definitely a lot of work, but I think that the impact on that would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Yeah,
really
especially
impressive.
because, like schooling, like everybody goes to school, right? Like you
Mhm.
have to go to school. So what are you doing to empower these kids while they're in school? Like to truly empower them, like not just, oh,
Mhm.
you have to take this math class, science class, like to truly empower them. Because you want them to, come back out into society and get a job and be, find joy in their job. Like, you don't want all these mental issues that we have going
Mhm.
on because you're just not happy and you're not finding joy with what you do.
Mhm.
So a lot of it is like I have one student, he has ODD, which is oppositional, what is it? Oppositional uh, deficiency. They kind of, hold on, let me look it up because I forget the name, but it's called oppositional defiant disorder. And he's
Mhm.
only like 7 or 8 years old.
Oh.
Uh, so you really have to like train yourself to how to handle somebody like that because sometimes sometimes they grow out of it, but sometimes they don't. So what how can you empower him because he's not doing it on purpose.
Mhm.
So how do you empower him to make good decisions instead of the bad decisions? And it's like it's a lifelong process.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Wow. And I think that's one of the unspoken superpowers behind what you do is that you have to not only work within the education, the actual process of the educating and empowering the students, but also learning how to s- shift your mind to know, okay, for this student, this are the processes or the structures that'll work best for them. This student is completely different. And I think that in the past, especially like in our younger, like our generation and before for our parents, it was just like one cookie cutter approach for everyone. And if you didn't fall under that category, something was wrong with you, but it wasn't perceived in the best light. So hearing you talk about how you have to shift that mindset. It sounds too that it's you love what you do so much, but you've also been doing it for such a long time that you're able to naturally shift that process or that mind, like that gear in your mind that says, okay, for this student, this is the structure that we have. Now I'm going to meet with this student in the next hour and shift that gear. So does it ever get where it's a little difficult to you're in this mode of and it could be a student that really needs more support, more strategies, the family's involved, and then you have another student that is completely different but also needs support in a different way. Do you ever have to kind of recalibrate yourself to shift from A to B and kind of like that?
yes. Yeah. And as you say this, like I can close my eyes and envision my life, right? And I shift and I do it quickly, right? And um because I don't do the cookie cutter. And I
Mhm.
say that to my families when they come for a consultation, like this is not a cookie cutter system, right? So we individualize what the needs are of your student. I've had families that come in here with like the uncle, the grandfather, the mother, the new wife, the ex-wife, and everybody's in the room talking about, what they want done for the children. And I love that. And every time it's happened to me like maybe 3 times where it's a lot of people that come, and I always praise them for doing that.
Mhm.
uh the most awkward one was, it was the mom and the dad, their new spouses, but one of the spouses used to be married to the other one, so like, and then in total they had like 5 or 6 kids. And I never asked questions because that's personal, but then the kids would kind of start talking and I'm like, and the mom ended up asking me, like, like weeks later, uh, you're not curious, like you don't want to ask me why he goes on Tuesdays but he goes on Thursdays. I'm like, I was thinking about it, but it has nothing to do with tutoring. But yeah, it was like some type of mix like that, but they were all still here involved.
Oh.
And they, eventually I learned they didn't have the best communication amongst all of them, but they were
Mhm.
all present here on day one to see what we were going to do for them. And I've had a lot of married couples that where I never meet one of the parents, and I've
Mhm.
had divorced couples where I see both. So it just, family dynamics I find extremely interesting because I've seen everything here. And yes, I shift. Like there's a kid that I work with. He's on the spectrum, and I've had him 3 years now. And some years he's verbal, some years he's not. But if
Mhm.
I give him like a chicken wing or piece of chocolate, then he'll talk to me a little bit more. But mom will send me pictures of him going to a school dance, or
Mhm.
him getting good grades in math because he reads well. It's just his math skills. So yeah, you shift. You have to, and
Mhm.
everybody needs something different from you. And I love what I do because people, and I feel honored because people entrust me
Mhm.
with their kids. And I ask kind of like uh, private questions like, is the dad involved or is the mom involved? Because all of those things impact the student. So I
Mhm.
do ask those questions. Are you an only child? Like, are you the youngest, the oldest? Because then that gives me a little bit of insight of like who they are and how I should handle them. Like I have this one girl, she's an only child and she doesn't like to be touched. So I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
that's different. And in my mind, I'm like, how do I tell her mom that she's spoiled? She's a spoiled little brat,
Mhm.
but I can't say that, right?
Mhm.
So I was like, your daughter has a really strong personality. She's like, yes, I know. But you just have to embrace that this is who they are. Like, who am
Mhm.
I? I don't want somebody to tell me, hey, Viviana, you should be totally different than who you are now. And
Mhm.
they're little people and they're still learning how to like be themselves. And they have
Mhm.
one thing that I tell parents all the time is you have to imagine the children, especially teenagers, but all of them. They're getting a lot of incoming content from their
Mhm.
parents, from the teachers, from their friends, siblings, social media. There's a lot of stuff coming in. So you have to put yourself in their shoes because it's a lot coming in.
Yeah.
So,
That's gotta be difficult too, like knowing that, but also kind of like within those split seconds, I'm like thinking of how your brain processes, like being able to know that I could tell the parents or the kid XYZ, but that might overwhelm them. So let's just focus on X for now. And then as you progress, you focus on YZ. And I think that sometimes from my outer perspective, from what I've seen with other businesses who are in the same realm of like tutoring are completely different to what you offer, because I see yours more as a holistic approach.
mm,
Others, it's more like, okay, what do you need tutor for math? Okay, let's sit down. What is the math problems that you're having problems with. And you just show that there's so much more behind that, how they learn, how they feel comfortable, what makes them excited about learning. And I think that that's the power in education when it goes right, that it's not, how we learn is so different across our entire lives too. Like, and as adult, I see how I learn different too, like how maybe Maddie and Viviana, like how you guys learn. And I think that there's so much power in how you were teaching. Especially I love when the families come together and it's like so many of them. You're also teaching them the power of educating and learning and adapting for everyone else's needs. So I think that there's something really beautiful about that. It's way more than tutoring. I think it's a thing that is in your life. It's embedded in the lifestyle. And I think I go back to what you said earlier from that great question that Maddie asked about that one project you would love to do, that I could really see the impact, being able to track that impact that you would have on these students and their families over time by applying these kind of lessons that are tailored to them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I still have students. They just this week I had a call. We tutor their kids when they were in middle school, and now he's like 24. You know, he needs tutoring for something. So they call and they don't even ask for prices. Like they know that they're gonna go with me, you know? And I think like I tell my tutors, like I want you to ask them about their weekend. I want you to ask them about, what was for lunch today. So it's not just, a full session of just academics. No, like we're not robots. Like you want to build a relationship with them because that's what makes them build a report and they feel like they're performing for us. They may not want to perform for their parents, but they will perform for us because we've built a relationship with them. Yeah, so that's like I want to know, like, what was for lunch today? What'd you eat today? Did you like it? And then sometimes they ask you questions because I had a young lady this weekend. She was like, "So who is that just called you? Like, if you don't mind me asking, you know?" So I'm like, I don't mind because I ask you questions, so I don't mind. And then,
Aw.
so that's part of tutoring, and it's mentorship. Like we'll go to basketball games or plays that the students are in for sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about being human sometimes, because like sometimes we see people in positions of power and then we forget that they are human too. And it's very different when you can relate to somebody that you are learning from. You're like, okay, I look up to this person, but they're human too. So I think that is huge, and that is important also for children, especially the younger they are. They learn differently, like we keep saying, and it's about finding what's interesting to them so that you can relate that to whatever they need to learn, might make it easier for them to grasp it. So I always say that about my daughter. My daughter used to hate math, but she was great at music, and she used to sing, and she was in choir, and that's what she did. And her math teacher in 8th grade started teaching her formulas in songs. Like he used to make a song out of formulas. And I think that was the only time that my daughter, I think she got like a B+. The first time that it was not a C, because she was like literally just getting by. And that particular teacher had that impact on her, and she used to speak about him every single day. She would walk in, Mom, Mr. And she had, middle school, you have different teachers throughout the day, but she only spoke about that one. So that tells you like the impact that he had in her, because he found a way to get through to her. So I think that's huge what you do, Viviana, getting through the kids, because sometimes some are easier than others, but then what do you do when you get the hard ones? I was going to ask, do you find yourself also educating the families, because I know especially kids with special needs, a lot of the work, it doesn't matter how much you work at school or at tutoring sessions, if you go home and you don't kind of practice what you have learned. And especially like over the weekend, like if, okay, they don't do anything today at home, but I'll see you tomorrow and then we'll continue. But then on the weekend, like now, like this weekend, it's a 3-day weekend. When you get them back on Tuesday, it's like you forgot everything we were working on. How do you bring the parents in, and how do you prepare them, especially when maybe they are not at that level? Like if I have to teach my kids, math, I probably wouldn't know where to start. I'm like, I never learned that math right now. So how do you prepare them?
So I think it's about holding them accountable, the parents, uh, because I can give the student, let's say, a worksheet to take home and bring it back next time you come to tutoring. Like, yes, it's the kid's responsibility, but if he doesn't, like, you're paying for these services, like you have to make sure. And I tell parents all the time, like, I'm a parent as well and I'm a consumer, right? So I'm thinking about your money because I spend money on stuff too. So like I tell them, like, what you are here, like I'm that same, like I'm not telling you something that I haven't done myself or that currently still do with my 14-year-old that's in school. So like even with my youngest son, he's taking geometry and I don't know anything about geometry, but I know what finished homework looks like. That means you have a number somewhere. And I know that there's an app that I could take a picture of the question and see if you got the right question, the right answer. So I think it's that part. And a lot of the times, I would say 95% of the time, people can see my heart through the consultations that we may do. So sometimes I'll say, I know you're not asking me, but I'm going to tell you this, right? Because sometimes I'll even ask sometimes the student to leave because sometimes I have to have conversations with the parents. Like I've seen it with moms talking down to their boys. Like, I just don't understand. And so I have usually the teenagers. So I have them like kind of step out to another room while her and I talk and just try to get her to be more empathetic with him, right? With that student. Because you're dealing with a kid, he has like all F's. Like how do you overcome that? Like how do you think he's feeling? He's not doing it on purpose. Maybe some stuff, right? Because he doesn't have discipline or whatever. But you have to have a plan to just one at a time. Like let's focus on this. Let's talk to the teachers. So I think it's that. But I do educate the parents all the time. There's some parents that put it on me, initiate it, right? On me, like, hey, can we get some work for the weekend? Blah, blah, blah. But then sometimes I have to bring it to them because let's say the kid is like super behind. Right now, I have a lot of boys that are behind in reading. So they might be in fourth grade, but they're reading at a first grade level. So I try to, because I know life takes over, right? I know that you have to go home and cook and all that stuff. So I tell them I'm sending stuff home to do, but it shouldn't require you to do anything with them because I've already done it with them. So it's just extra practice. There's a website that I use. I give them their own login and password. These are the sections I do a little bit with them when they're with us during our tutoring sessions, and then you finish it at home. So I try to find parent-friendly activities. I'm like, just put some index cards in the car, and then you just practice the words. Like, what's 5 times 5? You don't even have like. And I tell them like, talk to your kids while you're in the. If that's the only time you could talk in the car, do it and practice your fives. Like multiply by 5 while you're in the car instead of being on the phone or listening to music or whatever. So I do stuff like that.
I love that you said about that was such a great question, Maddie, the interaction and just thinking about that. I think one of the things too that is so hard with parents, especially when it's maybe just everything falls on one parent, that and they're working and they're trying to balance all these things, that sometimes it's really, I don't think there really is that balance, that work-life balance. I think is you just have to pick your battles of like, today I need to focus on this, today I'll focus on that, and just knowing that it's kind of like a pendulum. But what I really love that you were saying was that what makes it more powerful from your standpoint is that you know what it's like. So you pull those strategies because you've lived them. So that for me, you feel more like, oh, okay, I can understand that this person can relate to what I'm going through, and they're not just going to be someone who's never experienced this. and it kind of creates a barrier. So I love how you were saying, okay, you don't have time to do it while you're in the car, and like helping them find these little strategies that sometimes when you're so overwhelmed, you're like, yeah, no puedes más. Like you help them see those gaps where that's not
Mhm.
going to require you to do. You can do this. You're already on the road. Use that time to do this, and then I can see how that also over time builds that confidence with the families, the children, and it kind of continues that support. I think that that's what is missing so much within education, and that not everyone has access to you
Mhm.
beyond school, right? And sometimes our teachers are, I feel, so undervalued, underpaid when they are having to manage so many students. And I think that there's so much power in when a student can get that one-on-one focus like you guys provide, because then that elevates them.
Mhm.
I just wish like you would be able to multiply yourself and help a lot more students, because I do see that value in, and it's a holistic thing where it's not just
Mhm.
students, but it's the families as well that are growing and learning from that.
Oh
So
yeah, because it's definitely a family affair. Like even that one young boy that doesn't read well, the two sisters came in. I was like, they need to help out. Like, what's up? They're 14 and 15. I'm like, you need to help them. I said, you guys can take turn helping him, but you need to help him. Like your mom can't do everything.
I
They're
love
like,
that.
yes, ma'am. So like next week, I'm gonna be like, what's up? Did you help him? Yeah.
I
So
love that.
yes, yes,
I
yeah.
love
It's
that.
definitely a family affair. And today's world, like there's a lot of grandparents that are doing the work as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, but
Mhm.
it's definitely doable. If we want it, we'll make it happen. And that's with anything. Luz también nos manda saludos. And I think Nikauri también dice que está aquí con nosotros. But yeah, but ya se nos acabó el tiempo. It went by so quick.
No.
Yeah, so stay tuned for my Netflix life about Vivian. My kids are gonna love it. When they get interviewed, they're like, Mom
Oh,
is
that's
crazy.
awesome. Well, thank you, Viviana, for sharing more of your story with us. I think that this was really nice to get a sneak peek of what we can see in the movie.
Yes, yeah. Oh, our producer is calling the filmmakers. Great. I got 6 months to lose 10 pounds. Good job. Great motivation. Oh gosh. But thank you. I appreciate our audiences. They're amazing. But we're ready for Maddie's poem. I'm ready.
It
It's
was
a little
nice.
hot in here, so I want to feel the chills.
It was nice to get to know Viviana, the educator. Thank you for sharing with us. Okay, so this is a brand new poem, fresh off the oven. So I've been writing with my team and, kind of getting ready for competition. So this poem came from one of the other poets. She had an idea, and we've been talking about DEI and just us, like coming into a country that we don't know and feeling like, we're swimming in this ocean and we don't know where we go. So especially when it comes to our accent and the way we speak and learning a new language. So this poem is called Se habla español. For years I carried shame between my teeth. I was the daughter of an immigrant who never really learned to speak English. Was the enemy I kept close. A jack in the box who surprised me when he came out, sometimes making me feel like a clown. In my head, the words making perfect sense, but then my thoughts hit my tongue, my lips, the words doing backflips. Always a reminder, aquí se habla español. Like I will never earn my place. Born in the land of the free, but to Trump lovers, I will always be an other for being the daughter of foreigners. My Spanish will always feel safe, but my English keeps me caged, never freely accepted. The weight of the world reflected in how heavy it gets when I speak it, that instead of making an effort to understand me, all you hear is aquí se habla español, that 37 years later, I'm still actively trying to convince my tongue that we are enough. Our stories deserve to roam every space we occupy. Our songs are not only about the words, but the heart reflected within our movement and each of the music notes. Like Shakira dancing champeta at the Super Bowl halftime show, like Bad Bunny revolutionary album. Debí tirar más fotos de cuando te tuve. Aquí siempre se va a hablar español. Los ancestros, la guía, este acento, herencia, bravía de quienes fuimos y de quien soy. And for everyone that cringes every time they hear my accent, you are correct. Aquí se habla español.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That was amazing, Maddie.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. That's when they're good. If you don't get a goosebump, I don't know what to tell you when you listen to Maddie's poems. But thank you, Maddie. I love that poem. That was great.
Yeah,
thank you, Nicte. And Maddie, I hope things get better next week. We'll be praying for that. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys next Sunday at 4:00. Next weekend as well. Nos vemos el próximo domingo a las 4 de la tarde de nuevo. Que tengan una semana fabulosa.
Gracias. Chao. Adiós, mujeres.
Whether you're a seasoned designer, dabbler, or just starting out, this course is for you.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ Academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be.
A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.